So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I see a couple people trickling in, but we'll go on without them. So we're from Yeti. My name is Sam Santos. I'm a data visualization architect at Yeti, and I work in the data warehouse team.
My name is Wenbian Zhao. I'm a business analyst working for Yeti. My job focus is engaging with business partners and build comprehensive solutions.
We want to welcome some of our team here today as well and thank them. We have both Nirpam and Dan, who are also data analytics folks for us, as well as Tarek, who's our director of business intelligence. And so they're helping us out today. We normally talk about how to keep your beer cold for hours or how to keep your fish fresh after you've gone fishing. But I think today we're going to switch it up and talk about data analysis and how we are enabling some geo mapping and longitude coordinating within Tableau Maps to kind of do cross-channel sales analysis. We have several different channels that we sell through, including retail and e-com, as well as across our product line. We have kind of a vast product line as we've grown quickly throughout the last few years. So a little brief introduction on Yeti. Yeti traditionally sells coolers. It started 13 years ago with two brothers who were avid fishermen. They grew up in the Texas Gulf Coast. They did a lot of hunting. And as they grew up, they started designing boats for friends and family and then started selling them. And one thing that you'll know about fishermen, especially on the coast, is that they really like to incorporate coolers into their boat designs. And one thing that Roy and Ryan had a very hard time with is that they couldn't find a cooler that lasted. Everything kept breaking, and after a couple of years, they would go to stand or sit on the cooler and they just fall right through, right into a puddle of cold water. And that wasn't gonna be good enough for them. But they went out, they solved the problem, and they designed these Yeti coolers. And as they started putting them on their boats and selling on boats, they started to find out that they were selling more coolers than they were coolers on boats. Everybody was just coming to them like, hey, my buddy just got this boat. He has this cooler. Can I just get a couple of those? I want to throw them on my boat. And so they saw the opportunity. They went out and they made some tweaks to the coolers. It wasn't good enough. They wanted to make the perfect cooler for the perfect outdoorsman and make sure everything was in line. And they wanted to make it so strong that it was bear-proof. And that, I think, is the most common question we get besides how long can you keep my beer cold is, are they really bear-proof? And the answer is they actually are. We work with the interagency Grizzly Bear Committee, who actually certifies products to be bear-proof. They do a lot of conservation and population control of grizzly bear throughout North America. And it's very dangerous for bears to get into our food. It's very dangerous for us, for grizzly bears to be around us in our food. And so they actually do a lot of certification of grizzly bear-proof products, and we're happily certified by them. And so how much detail we have put into our coolers and how strong we've made them and all the details and the strength and how long they keep your beer cold and your meat cold, your fish cold, has really turned us into a little bit of a cult brand, is how we're commonly described. And it's just because of the attention to detail that we put into all of our products. It started with the coolers, but it's now gone into drinkware. We make outdoor equipment like buckets. We even make dog bags and duffel bags now. And that same attention to detail that Roy and Ryan put into the original coolers is the same amount of attention and detail we put into all products we make. And I like to think that that commitment to our customer and that commitment to making a product that they can consistently rely on year after year is why they've come to like us and follow us so avidly. And as well as us giving back to the community. So as much as they appreciate us, we also appreciate our community and our ecosystem. And so we also partner with a lot of different organizations to keep our coastal areas clean, to keep them renewed. We want to make sure that our future generations of Yetisans are able to enjoy the outdoors as much as we do ourselves. And as we went from coolers to buckets to drinkware to other outdoor equipment, our product line quickly began to grow. So even since 2016, we've increased dramatically the number of products that we offer and product categories that we build. We have a product to really service somebody through any part of their day. Whether you get up in the morning and you throw on your Howler Brothers t-shirt, you drink your hot cup of coffee out of your stackable mug, feed your dog out of their large or small dog bowl, grab your Crossroads backpack and your lunch bag and head off to the office. And then at the end of the day, relax around the fire with one of our coolers and crack open a cold one with the boys, right? So a lot of products that we have offered also means that there is a lot of data that we have to keep track of. And this is definitely where Tableau has assisted and has helped us grow and keep up with our product line, as well as keep up analyzing and looking to new insights about our product line, as well as our sales channels. So a little bit about where Yeti started with Tableau. We actually haven't been using Tableau very long. The first time that we implemented Tableau was just over a year ago. And we rolled out a large suite of reports to each of our sales reps. And we started from about half a dozen users across our company within a month to over 120. And so it was very rapid growth and very quick. And it was a lot of data and a lot of reports to keep track of. And now a year later, we have over 250 users across our company, which is over a third of our organization. So within just about 14 months, we've gone from a very tiny data analyst community to a very large and expansive one that reaches across all of our channels, all of our brands, and all of our product categories. So because of this rapid growth, we had to set up some sort of analytics foundation, some sort of control, some sort of motto of how we're going to go about expanding Tableau and growing within our company. And one thing that all analysts want to do, I'm sure everyone here would love to be able to tell the future. You want to know what is going to happen, what's going to happen within your organization, what's going to happen within your product line, within the market, but you can't tell the future unless you know what's happening today. And you're not going to know what's happening today if you don't already know what's happened before, either in the market or within your company. And so that's where we started. We had to start from the beginning and say, what's happened? What have we sold? Where have we sold to? What are we doing? And that built into like how we're doing today. What have we done today? What can we expect? Keeping track of our current system within both Tableau, our data warehouse, across the entire company. And now we're starting to breach into that new frontier of being able to tell what's going to happen. Start telling the future, using the data we have, start using the historical patterns, some machine learning, and we'll talk about that a little bit soon, and start telling about what direction we're actually going to be heading and what to expect as we come forward. And so through this growth, through this building, we got asked a question by some of our executives, and that's how do our sales channels interact with each other? We sell through e-com, our website, we sell through third-party e-com partners. We have all of our retail stores, both in Austin and spreading around the country, as well as third-party retails like Dick's Sporting Goods, Academy, REI, and we want to know how do they affect each other? When we start selling products in the store, how broad of a radius and impact does it have around that store? And what does the retail space or the e-com space look like within that area? And that's something that we hadn't put together before. If we break down our data sets, and we'll get through how we kind of organize that, it's very different data and not the same information is available across each of our channels. But we had to start somewhere. So the first place we started was our e-com channel. We took a sample of our customers across our country and said, where are they landing? Where is our customer base? And I think this is a fairly simple map that probably everyone in here has built before of where is my growth? Where's my spread? How do I outreach through each of my states? And this wasn't very surprising to us. You can see Texas, our home state, has high customer base. We see Florida and California, but those are also very high population centers. So this was just the start. And it didn't tell us a whole lot that we didn't already know. So we had to dig in deeper. So let's look at Tableau's home state of Washington. We zoomed in there and we added some of the cities onto that, but it still told us the same story, that when you have a high population area, you're gonna have high sales. We're not gonna be shipping a lot of product, coolers and cups out into rural Washington. It's probably gonna be around where people are living. And we can go down even a layer deeper into Tableau's home city of Seattle and look at zip codes. And if we look at our e-com data, that is the most granular data that we're able to map out of the box with Tableau, is within each zip code, where's our product going? And within Seattle, you can kind of see we have a very blanket spread. There's not a whole lot of peaks, there's not a whole lot of lows. And population, zip code is based on population roughly. And so that can also be expected, that same thing we saw with our state level, same thing we saw with our city level, that where there's population, we're probably gonna be selling. Doesn't tell us a whole lot of story, or it doesn't tell us much that we didn't already expect. But one thing that we wanted to know that I brought up before is how does our retail channel affect this? We have several stores, including REI, which is also based out of Seattle, So what does that do to our e-com sales? How do they relate? Are they supporting each other or are they cannibalizing each other? And so we had to go to the data and try to figure out where they line up. So we started with e-com because there's a lot of data already available from e-com. It's our own internal system. We get shipping information, we get billing information. So it's a great metric, great framework to start with. And you can start adding everything else, all your other channels onto it, and seeing where the holes are. Where is there a gap that you need to fill, a puzzle piece that you need to go find or build? And we just had to work through this system. We both internally within our data warehouse, as well as our partners within the business functions, sought to find a better way to answer these questions and find these unavailables and make it available for us, as well as work with our third-party suppliers and vendors and ask them to help us out and provide us the data that we need. And we were able to slowly, it took a long time, it was very quick there, but it does take a while to fill in those gaps. And for orders that we didn't have an order date, we just found the next best thing. All we're looking for is actionable insight. We don't need the perfect answer. We don't need to make sure everything is 100%. We just need something that we know is roughly correct and will lead us in the right direction. And as we started that journey, we can make sure and reassess ourselves, engage and make sure we're continuing in the right direction. But we had to make steps and we had to start somewhere. And so with purchase date, that was going to be close enough as a order date when we were filling that in. Same with our product IDs. One thing we realized is that none of our sales channels use the same product hierarchy. And so we took two actions there. We went to our internal product managers and we said, hey, you got to use the same product hierarchy. We're going to insist that everything's going to be the same. The whole company is going to be based on one product hierarchy, and that's going to help us clean up our data. As well as we had third parties who had their own custom mapping. They decided to assign their own SKUs, their own product IDs. And that was the dirty work of just having to sit down and say, no, we got to translate your product ID into our product ID. As well as customer IDs and zip codes, sometimes we just don't have the available information. It's not produced, but you can start creating the codes that you will work for you to identify individual customers or individual purchases. And then with zip code, for the accounts that we were missing, we worked with our sales reps who knew those accounts. They knew who those were. And we figured out that really not having the shipping information, we can fill that in with the account information because they're not going to likely have a different billing address than they do a shipping address. And so that's going to work for again. So it's not 100%. We do miss a lot of the data, but we can get close enough that we can start stepping in the right direction. And when we come back to our maps, what it does is it takes this one channel view and we can now merge in the rest of our sales channel into it to see a better pattern of how they relate to each other within zip codes. One thing that I like to point out is that really there's a very similar ratio of retail sales to e-com sales through the Seattle area. But you do see some big blobs that have much higher retail sales in them. And when you look at that, those are kind of our big retail options. REI, Outdoor Emporium, and we can see that they're really helping us out within that Seattle area. And when you're comparing it to the e-com of the same zip code, you can see they have a much higher margin, which is probably expected. Coming back to what we were talking before about how they're actually affecting each other. We have at the zip level what the ratio is between each of our customers and our sales channels, but we don't see any sort of deep visualization, a deep granular understanding of how they interact or how they affect one another. And one thing we realized we did have is address. And in order to get address into lat long, so that we could get more pinpointed maps, we had to find some way to translate that address. So Wenbin, what do you do when you need to look up an address and find out where it is?
Well, I usually pull out my phone and check on Google Maps.
Google Maps, Apple Maps, any of those. Fortunately, Google Maps has its own API that you can feed in a list of addresses and get lat long back. So in order to use that tool, we have to get address. And we don't have address for everybody. So we went through the same process. We sat down with our sales reps, we sat down with our analysts, and we said, what is the next best thing we can get? We need to get address. We need to work with our suppliers and make sure we're getting the information we need to tell a much more holistic picture and more detailed view of our sales channels. So once we got those holes filled in, we found out how to fill the gaps, we then went to Google. So within Google, the API I mentioned, we were able to build out an ETL process that simply took our table of addresses. Google will also assist you in finding the correct address, just like if you misspell a street name or you forget to put east when you're searching an address. Google will fill in that through their machine learning algorithm, try to figure out what you're actually trying to look up and give you the postal address back as well as their lat long information. And so through simple ETL scheduled job, we can feed data into Google. Google will return the same data, and we can go ahead and append all the lat long information and the other corrected address information onto the record. So now we have a more complete view. What can we do with this information? Well, we can go back to our map, and the map that we have just a kind of high level zip code view of our stores, we can now map exactly to where they are lat long, down to the block. So this really gives us a much deeper view of where is our product going and how are we selling it across our channels. Again, you can see compared next to each other, there's a very big difference of where our high level areas are, especially if you look at REI, the downtown area. You can see how much it's moved from very far north of downtown to actually very close to downtown. You can also see our retail stores follow some of our highway channels. And we have 520 and I-5, and they create these corridors of retail stores that would be expected, but one thing that we didn't see is how they were affecting our e-com sales before. And now we can see around those areas where our e-com and online sales are affected. And we can also break it down by product level as well. So now we can tell for both our drinkware all channels, as well as our outdoor equipment all channels, how our product is selling, how it relates to each other, and even by our individual stores like REI, how much it's, how much it's contributing to our outdoor equipment sales versus our drinkware sales, and where some of the gaps are for retail versus e-com, as well as for outdoor equipment versus drinkware. So I've talked a lot about how do we get from the data into the mapping, but next I want to introduce Wenbin, who's going to talk about how we take that mapping and start doing the next level insights and what does that mean for our sales organizations.
Well, thank you, Sam. That's a lot of technical detail, so it's the end of the day, so everybody's tired. So let's change pace just a little bit. So before I move on to the next slide, which we're going to talk about a very interesting case study about a city, I want to tell you a little bit more about who I am and how I joined Yeti and become a Yeti Zen. That's how we call ourselves working at Yeti. So before I joined Yeti, I was always a big fan of Yeti products because their stuff is just awesome. First of all, did you know that Yeti is actually headquartered in Austin, Texas, right? Most people think Austin is kind of a cool town. They have the 6th Street with all the bars, they have the barbecues, and they have the light music. Yeti is actually born in Austin. That's number one thing, is two brothers created this new set of product, high-end and high quality and high priced, coolers and drinkware, and out of a very mundane product, and they just grow like crazy. In the last 10 years, they grow exponentially, and that's one thing I really liked it. And secondly, their products are over-engineered marvels. They are really, really well-built product. They just meant to last forever. And in fact, before I applied for the job, instead of writing a cover letter, I wrote a little story. It's actually true. One of my old bosses liked to heat up his coffee in his mug in the microwave over and over because they keep getting cold. So we bought him a Yeti mug, and he liked it so much he bought everybody one. So that goes to this story I want to tell. So I was a little bit hesitant to apply because I'm not sure I fit in the Yeti culture. If you think of a Yeti person, you would think that would be some guy bearded, rugged and individual, wear a worn baseball cap, flannel shirt, cowboy boots, kind of like Sam, right? I don't look like anything like that, right? So I was worried if I joined Yeti, will I fit in? I was actually pleasantly surprised. When I first day got to Yeti, I look around me, there are all kinds of people from different kind of social, ethnic background, different education, and they're all different. They all have different interests. Some of them are actually not into outdoor at all, but we all share the same passion with the Yeti product. We like Yeti, we think the Yeti is a great product, and we all work together, whether it's customer support, marketing, sales, or data team, we all work together to try to build a better business and better product. So here is a product line that we recently launched. It's the purple. It's the peak purple product line is color. In fact, I borrowed my daughter's cup to bring with you to show you the real thing. It's actually pretty cool, right? And I can tell you that I try to treat my burnt orange, go horns, cup with my daughter. She was not happy I'm having this with me. She liked to keep that with her all the time. So we launched this set of product. It went really well. It sold really, really well. It's one of our highest performing product lines. So obviously, to track performances, we start building different kind of maps to see how they are doing. So we build all sets of data, and then on top of the data, we build visualization to show different geographic locations, like city level and US as a country, division, region, and we start looking into insights. So this is one of the maps I built. It's a state level, using color purple to show which state has the buy sell, right? And the interesting thing here is we start looking into detail about each state. We want to map the city level on how well they're performing. And obviously, California, Texas, Florida, New York, those are high population states. They sell a lot of them. But if you actually look into some of the detail, rank the city by city, there are some interesting things. So Pennsylvania, for instance, the number one city that sold the most purple collection is State College. I know that's where Penn State came from. Are there any people in the audience that are Penn Staters? Great. So, Sam, do you know what Penn State sport color is?
Don't get mad at me. It's purple, right?
Oh, nice try, but it's blue and white, right? And we also know like Pittsburgh Steelers is gold and black, and the Terrible Towels, right? I know that one. And the Philadelphia Eagles green. So unless they have this extra amount of people who's like LSU fans or Prince fans, why do they sell so many purples, right? That's an interesting question to answer. So we immediately started our diagnostic analysis, right? So we start looking into social media, news media coverage for things that are purple during that period of time. And sure enough, we start looking at images that shows up as purple. Very interesting. What are they? So we stumbled upon this website called Soundorg. Voila. They use purple. So what is Thon? Thon is the largest student-run dance marathon in the world. Some 20,000 Penn State students will do a dance competition in the matter of 46 hours. They raise tens of millions of dollars for cancer research. It's very well known in the area. And for them, purple, because it's for children's cancer research, purple is their color. And they place a large order through us to support their staff and patrons. So we're kind of accidentally step upon it. So it's kind of interesting. We like to think we made a small difference there. But this kind of mapping-based insight really help us to form our strategies. So from now on, we start looking at using map and using data to find more opportunities and to pinpoint target audience. So where are we today as Yeti, and the Yeti Zens and Yeti as a whole? So we are laser focused to build a data-driven marketing strategy. That's very different. It's kind of like how I see when I walk in the door of Yeti, I see the people are not actually what I thought they are. They are actually wide audience with very wide spread of different interests. And here the same thing. You think Yeti is just a retail company selling cooler, but we're actually data focused. And we want to build data sets. So we build several large data sets that aggregate different kind of data sources. ERP data, sales data, CRM data, voice data, product life cycle data, and so on and so forth, to aggregate them together, and then we use data warehousing and Tableau to show different data insights. In turn, we can help the marketing and sales team to come up with new opportunities to reach out different target audience. And that's how we build our data strategies. So that's Yeti today. What's coming next? So we want to show that data is the most important thing. It's our foundation for anything else. Without a good data, without good fact, we can't build insights. So we spend a lot of time and energy to build an agile and strong data warehouse. On top of that, we start using data science with advanced algorithm and data science models to build predictions and recommendations. And with that in our hand, we can reach out to our leadership team to build better plans and better strategies. Ultimately, as Yeti, we all together want to use data to build a better product and stronger product, just like our coolers. And I'd like to use this moment to thank Yeti to give us the opportunity to represent Yeti. And thank you.
Thank you, guys. Please don't forget to fill out your evaluations. It helps us a lot. We also have plenty of other stickers up front for those who weren't able to grab it, and we appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.